about that time, so we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the June 25th, 2015 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair of the Board of County Commissioners, also representing District 2. Joining me today is Commissioner Shelley Beulah, representing District 1. Good morning. And Commissioner Bob Boucher, representing District 3. Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Clerk, before we begin, there's been a request from the Parks and Recreation to pull items F1 and F2, and I would make a motion to so do that.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed. That item passes 3-0. So with that being said, we're ready for item number 1.
Proclamations, presentations. Number 1, presentation by Sprout Communications, LLC, regarding the development of the comprehensive marketing advertising strategy and the plan for implementation.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Recreation. I had staff come down here before and make some presentations as to the progress we're making in the changes to Parks and Recreation. One big item that the County Commission supported probably back in late March, early April was to begin to work with an advertising marketing promotion firm. The reason we wanted to do that was there was significant public input as we put together our master plan. One of the key things was that the public thought we had great facilities, great programs, that they just felt maybe we could do a better job of getting that word out to the public on what we're doing. Since that time, a couple of our staff have just worked overboard on getting to where we're at today. I want to bring attention to Terry Simpson here in the back, and I thought I saw Olivia Mayer over here. These two ladies have been working above and beyond the call of duty to get to where we are here, and I think some of that is driven because Terry Simpson, who's been in this job for a couple years, may be a short-termer with us. She may be leaving Shawnee County, but I think she's leaving for the best job in the world, which might be to babysit some grandchildren and things like that. So she's really wants to make sure that we're off and going at 100 miles an hour when we get this started. One of the projects that we're working with is we contracted with Sprout Communications to begin to look at Parks and Recreation, ways we can begin to blend some of that together and get our message out better. Today we have a presentation by Sprout, going to kind of update the commissioners where we're at, how we got to where we are. Yesterday we had an all-staff meeting, and staff is buying in. They're seeing what direction we're trying to head. And with that being said, I'll just kind of turn this over to Caleb Asher with Sprout, and he can kind of inform the commission and the rest of the county about what we're doing and where we're headed. Caleb?
Good morning. It's good to be here this morning. Let me pull the presentation up. If I can. My eyes are not as good as they used to be, I'm realizing, so I'm first step accomplished. Well, thank you for allowing me to be here today. As John mentioned, we've really enjoyed working with the Parks and Rec staff over the last several months, really, to get to where we are today, and we thought we would give you a little bit of an overview of kind of our process of getting here, show you the new brand for Parks and Recreation, and then also talk a little bit about next steps and how we'll start to see this roll out throughout the community. So. All right, so research and discovery. One of the nice things that we had the good fortune of walking into was a master plan that had been, a lot of time had been spent on. And so like any time we would begin working on a brand exercise with a client, we would want to do a lot of research and make sure that we really understood what it was that we were working with. And so in this case, with the master plan in place and a number of surveys that had already been done, we really wanted to look at that first and see then if there was anything in addition that we needed to look into. But we found that it was pretty comprehensive and it gave us a great overview. So between those documents, ongoing meetings with staff. Like I mentioned, we've been meeting with Terry and Olivia and John really every week since we got started, just to kind of check in and make sure we were going in the right direction. We had the good fortune of going to a lot of our directors' meetings, so that we got to kind of go in and see, meet some of their team members, talk a little bit about what was important to them and so forth. So we really kind of dug in and tried to get to know the department as well as we could. We always say that we don't know what we don't know, so even though we've lived here for a number of years, we didn't want to assume anything going into this project. I will say, and I think I mentioned this the last time that I was here, that this was really, as we are a growing business as well in the community, we've worked with a number of organizations throughout the region and outside of Topeka, but this was really one of those first ones that we as a team said we really want to actively pursue, because we're all parents, we're all dads and moms of kids that use the park facilities. And I have to tell you, since getting this contract, my poor wife, every time we go somewhere now, I'm like, oh, and there's a logo, and oh, there's something that's Parks and Recreation that I didn't even understand and realize until we started working with this team. So we get even more excited every time. And one of my staff members mentioned to me at the end of one meeting, said, we've already got the contract. You don't have to keep telling them that, well, we were here last weekend and we did this and we did that. So anyway, we've enjoyed getting to work on that and do some of this discovery on our own. Reviewed other community branding efforts, so we know that there are some other things happening in the Topeka area, and really wanted to make some good decisions on how do we tie to that, what do we do with that, and we certainly wanted to make sure that was something that we were aware of. We also, just before I move on, really John and the team gave us kind of the full, they said, be creative, do whatever. We looked at name changes, we looked at all kinds of different things. We said, really, what is the right thing today and moving forward? We were aware of, going from the Topeka Parks and Rec and the Shawnee County, merging those two together. So we really felt that it was time for a new day, and after reviewing name changes and everything else that went into that, we really, as you'll see, felt that it made the most sense still to stick with Shawnee County Parks and Recreation for a number of cost efficiencies, a number of ways to make sure that as the community was trying to figure out how to engage and interact, we didn't want to change that. There's all kinds of things that happen in the digital world now where if we completely changed that, it would be difficult for, let's say, a new business was looking and they wanted to see what kind of assets we had in the community. If they typed in, Parks and Recreation in Shawnee County or in Topeka, and if it was a different name, then it would be difficult for it to come up. So anyway, those were some of the reasons that go into kind of, what we looked at and why we did what we did. Wanted to show you so one of the things that we did was just if you type in Parks and Recreation to Google Images, for example, all of these images come up, right? So you see a lot of similarities. You see a lot of trails and greens and blues and trees and suns and bodies of water, and so one of the things that that you can either start to go as well, this is kind of what you get with Parks and Recreation. This is something that's very similar. Is that the direction we want to go, or do we want to make sure that if we were to show up in this list that we want our brand to stand out a little bit more? So this was part of that research and development. We really wanted to understand not only in our community but what else was out there. We looked at other communities that really, based on our assumptions, we thought they were probably doing it right. And what we found is that wasn't always the case. We looked at, I remember San Diego in particular thinking, well, they must really be doing something well. And no, it wasn't anything that blew our socks off. So we really started from that point of how do we stand out and how do we make a difference here in our community. One of the things that I've talked a lot about, as the team can tell you, and I think it's worth bringing up today, is kind of what is a brand. I think it's important for us all to remember that a brand isn't just a logo. It's not just a tagline. This is usually where I insert my story that I worked for the state for a number of years and got to manage Kansas As Big As You Think. So that was probably one of those times where I did a lot of explaining that this isn't our state's brand. It's a tagline, and you may not agree with it, but I do bring that up because I do think it's important. Sometimes we get so focused on our brand is the look of the logo or the tagline. But really, a brand is every interaction with our customer and stakeholder. And several meetings in particular, I said, I know this is, I'm talking to the guys that are mowing the yard. And here I am in a jacket, and they're thinking, well, you don't understand our job. But I said, to me, the brand is as important as if they're on the lawnmower smiling at the public. That interaction, that being open to friendliness, being open in our community, that to me is as important for our brand as it is the logo and the tagline. That interaction is key. And then also something that I think Parks and Recreation does well, and we're looking forward to tell more people about, is that experience. So how does the community experience, how does the community engage with all of the Parks and Recreation assets in town? And those need to be positive experiences. That will be as important to our brand as anything else. So we have had a number of those discussions along the way. I always like this quote, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So a lot of times they're not going to be able to articulate what you are, who you are to your face, but a lot of times to their friends and others they'll say, well, I had this experience, or I'll never go back there, or they were just the greatest place. And that really is what, again, dictates our brand. So logo and tagline, getting into that development, and I went ahead and wanted to remind us the existing logo. One of the things that, as we started down this path, we really wanted to make sure that there was something that was clean and bright, fun, progressive, representative of a new day. Those were the things that we kept talking about when we said, how do we really articulate what it is that Parks and Recreation does in this community? So those were the things that we kept kind of in the forefront of our discussions. As we went into tagline development, which I don't believe there really is a current tagline, certainly not one that's being used, we felt that it might make sense to bring in a tagline as well. But if we did that, we felt that it needed to be action-oriented, something that would kind of be that call to action. Let's get out and play, let's do different things together. Engaging, we didn't want it just taking up space. If that were the case, we didn't feel like we needed one, so we wanted something that was action-oriented, engaging. And we wanted it to work well for both the park side of things and the recreation side of things too. So the tagline is "Meet You There." One of the things that we felt that as parents and as people that are constantly using parks and facilities and athletics is that we got to thinking about in our everyday lives, what are we saying? So my wife and we've got a daughter who's 7 and a son who's 2. A lot of times our friends will get together and they'll say, well, I'll meet you at the Gage Park at 10, or I'll meet you at that class at 9:30, or let's sign up for this, and maybe we can meet each other later in the summer for that class, or whatever the case might be. So we really felt like, again, we wanted everything that we were doing to be engaging with the community. We wanted it to be action oriented. We wanted people to think about the fact that whatever you're doing, you may be doing it at a Parks and Recreation facility. So that really is where the tagline "Meet You There" came from. So again, here's where we are today, and with that, here's what we have proposed for the new logo. Again, something that's very bright and cheery, fun, simple, progressive, clean. You'll notice it's maybe a silly little thing, but something that we had a little fun with was the Parks plus Recreation, kind of this idea of modernizing it just a little bit. You'll notice the sun burst here at the side. Both represents kind of an explosion. It is visually what you'll see there, which is why you don't have your traditional sun rising. But we wanted something, again, to feel very action-oriented and have good energy within the logo. We wanted it to something, if you'll remember back to the slide with all the other stuff that was happening, there's a lot of clutter a lot of times because we're trying to fit everything in from here's something that represents soccer, and here's something that represents a camp, and here's something that represents the lake and a playground. So we really felt that while it was fun to think about how we could represent all of those things, we wanted something that really represented our community well, which was something that as you start to see this around, that you get a good feeling with it. It's clean, something that you remember. And then again, you'll see it will be used with and without the tagline "Meet You There." So wanted to present that. And then the next few slides, I want to show you kind of the different variations of how we will use it. Obviously, it's important. There will be times that we're using it on shrunk down on promo items. So obviously, that was a key to make sure that color combinations would work well. There will be sometimes it'll be one color, multiple color. So you'll see each of the variation, the colors within the logo. We would recommend using as standalone colors if that were the key. Some of our next steps will be to present a full guide on how to use the brand and the logo so that it will be a tool and a resource for the team within Parks and Recreation to kind of go, okay, well, would it look better this way on this piece of marketing material versus, in a different way. So that's something that this will be the beginning of how do we use the logo consistently, which is going to be key moving forward as well. So we mocked up a couple of other things. I know in the master plan signage was a key consideration, and so before you drive by Gage Park and go, oh, that's not a blue sign, we've got our designer Dan's pretty good on Photoshop, so yes, we took a picture and Photoshopped that, but it gives you an idea of what that could look like. Right down to changing the color of the sign. Again, we want things that are bright and cheery. We were talking a lot of times in our meetings about, imagine yourself in early February when you get that day that's just above 30 degrees and you're like, I've got to get the kids out, and you go, we don't want the sign to blend in with everything else that's dead in the park. So we said, let's have something that year-round is bright and dormant. Thank you, John. Thank you. See, I'm still learning these dormant. Everything that's dormant in our parks. But we wanted the signage and everything to be bright and stand out and be cheery. And again, you'll notice that the logo, in some ways, would look very nice on something like that in bright white. We joked with the staff. The other thing that we learned quickly was one of the folks said a white T-shirt would never work with what we're doing. So we would agree. So you can imagine blue shirts, any colors of those that again would stand out at camps and such, probably with the white logo on there as well. But we wanted to just kind of visually show you what it could look like as we roll it out. A couple of other things that I think are in addition to branding, we are recommending transitioning from the full-scale guide, our catalog, that we've been using for a number of years. It can be costly to print. Once it is printed, it can be out of date relatively quickly. Right now, as you may remember, we're on a twice-a-year guide, so a biannual guide. Here in we're hoping for later July, early August, you'll start to see the transition from that catalog to more of a smaller guide, almost a newsletter feel, that will have more of a conversational, kind of telling stories and sharing information about what's happening right now, what's happening in the coming months within the Parks and Recreation, really throughout Shawnee County. And then we'll still have, in a much more simplified form, all of the different classes and events that are happening throughout the community. But really, we will begin to transition more toward pushing people online and engaging that way. So there will still be a good mix, I think, of print and more traditional, but we'll look to move more toward digital engagement. Signage, I already mentioned, that is key. And I should mention that will be a quarterly guide, so that will go back to, but we do believe with the way it will be laid out in printing and such, it will be more efficient and, like I said, provide more of a value to the community with key information in it. Signage, I think it's important to note that we recognize that these things will evolve over time, will happen over time. So we'll begin putting together probably recommendations based on traffic counts, based on visibility of what signs would make sense, the most sense to change out first, and then put a bit of a timeline to that. So that's something that, as the budget allows, makes sense to us to be as efficient with that as possible, but at least put together a plan so that we know sometimes time can get away from us, so we said it would be good to at least put that list together of what we would recommend for signage changes. Community engagement really is key to all of this. Again, we don't want to just exist. I think my grandpa used to say, well, you've got to tell them to sell them, and that's kind of the case with Parks and Recreation. We assume that everybody knows, but even we didn't recognize, and we use it quite a bit, we didn't realize that there were so many things that were to do within Parks and Recreation. So community engagement will be key. Partnerships are also key, both within the department. We want to work better, a little bit more cross-promoting within Parks and Recreation. We think there are some great opportunities within the Shawnee County kind of umbrella, if you will, partnerships. I'll give you an example of one that we had just several weeks ago, a great meeting with Topeka Metro. My thought and our team's thought as we were working together is, we've got the trails, they've got the bikes, why aren't we working together to do something that would make sense to cross-promote and get the community out on the trails using the new bike share program. So I think you'll see some exciting partnerships that are happening within the county, and we've got a whole list of others that we're excited to get started with as well. Website review, we recognize the current website isn't as capable as we would like it to be to support all of the community engagement, but we certainly are going to be making that work to our best ability. With the guide, I joke that the guide that you'll see here in a month or so, we can guarantee it will be different than the one that you'll see in another 3 months or a year, because it will be a bit of a learning process to make sure that it is adding value to the community. Social media will be key. One of the things that we feel that is important, again, with the community engagement is it won't just be a push from Parks and Recreation. We really want to get the community engaged and posting and using their social media accounts to tag locations within Parks and Recreation. We do it all the time. We'll go and ride on the Shunga, and our family, we call the playgrounds either the blue one or the red one. That's what the kids tell us where they want to go. So we'll say, hey, we're at the blue playground or the red one at Crestview, wherever that might be. But we want the community posting pictures, and they're doing it anyway, so getting them to engage and tag and say, hey, we're at Gage Park, or we're at the pool, or we're at the sports complex. Flyers, brochures, really I only put that on there because consistency will be key, and we talk a lot within the department about one of the things that we looked at that early on was I received a folder that was about this thick of all the materials that were being used, all the different logos that were being used kind of within the materials, and everyone's very supportive of the fact that we really need to streamline that and make sure that that is consistent. That will also in the end be the most efficient use of your dollars to make sure that the look is the same throughout everything that we're doing, which will then begin to resonate with the community. So those are on there just from the standpoint of I want to make sure that we are promoting consistency in everything that we do moving forward. Wanted to put this on here because here's one of the first things that you'll probably see in the next week or so. As we transition from the catalog to the guide, we will be putting out a postcard that will be mailed throughout the county. In fact, we're putting together the final touches on that in the distribution list. July happens to be National Parks and Recreation Month, so we thought there wasn't a better time to kind of start to roll this out and then really hit it hard in the month of July to, again, engage in the community. And I know it's hard to see here, but we will have samples for you. But there are 5 or 6 events throughout the community that are planned that are community engagement activities, such as starting with the Spirit of Kansas, of course, the 4th of July, moving into free carousel rides, free paddle rides out at the lake, and a demonstration by Topeka Metro, the bike share program, again, bringing them in as a partner. The Waterpalooza happening also out at the Shawnee North Aquatic Center. We wanted to make sure they were spread throughout the community. The movie Under the Stars will be out at the Bettis Sports Complex. And then there's a number of golf discounts that will be provided throughout the month of July as well. So again, the website will have more information on that. But we thought it was important to begin this kickoff with that engagement in those mailboxes within our community. As you'll see at the bottom, it says, watch for our new look throughout the community. So again, making sure that people know that there is a change and that we're excited for them to be looking for that as well. So with that, that is our presentation on where we are going, where we've been, where we are today, and looking forward to where we're going with that. Any questions or anything?
Caleb, this is I like the logo, how you envision this. It's very clean. It really does show action. I can see that. I know you talked about it being an explosion. I've often thought of John Knight and explosions.
Those two got to go together, right?
But in all honesty, how do you really encapsulate all of the different aspects of Parks and Recreation? There are so many different things that are going on. And so just the tagline of meeting you there, I think that those really do encapture the spirit of Parks and Recreation, those two bodies that are working in concert with each other. One thing that I would like to see, maybe us to continue on, is the digital engagement. Social media has become such an important part, an integral part of all generations. The millennials, we highlight, but really all generations. Recently, I took a trip to St. Louis, using my location and the GPS and typing in what's near me. I was able to utilize the St. Louis parks, and there's so many different things with Forest Park, the zoo, the museums. And I can look at where am I at, how far is it to the next thing, and a map of that facility. And I think those things are really important. And as we look at that, I'd like to see where we can go with maybe some apps, some different social engagement, so that if I'm on the trail and I want to know where am I at and how far do I have to go to the next stop. Those sorts of things would be really helpful. Also, if I have a way of telling people this is where I'm at on the trail, if you want to meet me there,
Right, right, yeah.
this is where the next spot is. And I think that those sorts of digital engagement are really key to the future of parks and recreation, really combining those two bodies. But
Absolutely.
I really like this is very nice.
Thank
So-
you.
Very good work. So would a hashtag be hashtag meet you there?
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I
we could,
mean,
yeah, absolutely, hashtag meet you there, hashtag, probably the SC. We played internally, and we haven't even
Did you?
talked about this, but P+R was another, kind of, again, using the plus sign was something that we felt would be, again, kind of, would reach a little bit of a newer generation, be a little bit more hip, a little cool, but P+R was something that we thought would make some sense
Good.
with that as well.
Great work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Archer, any thoughts?
I like it.
Yeah.
We'll take it. No, thank you very much. I do want to just recognize real quick some of our staff that I have with me as well today. Colin Ballou works with us on digital, Jess with our accounts, and Chase is interning this summer, and we'll be doing a lot of, you'll probably be meeting him out a lot throughout the community too as we start to work later this summer on this. So.
Very good.
All right.
We
Good
look
deal.
forward
Thank
to
you so
the
much.
continued integration of
Great,
this.
thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. I guess what struck me was Commissioner Cook talking about apps and Commissioner Bueller talking about hashtags. Thank you, Commissioner Archer, for bringing me back in, making me feel more comfortable. I don't know what the heck they're talking about.
Madam Clerk, our next item.
Consent agenda.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda is presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
New business, A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
There are vouchers for 2 meetings, of course, since we didn't have a meeting on Monday. $3,552,515.18 is the total. Largest amount is payroll and capers, $903,487.06. After that, solid waste management with recycling, $288,028.93. And then health insurance administration at $261,997.32. And I do have a one item that I think we need to hold. I talked with Betty Greiner just briefly. It's under USD 501, but then it's a City of Topeka, Kansas EFT of $875,300.23. And so I think we need to hold that one. That was her suggestion, and we will get that worked out for Monday's vouchers. So minus that amount for total vouchers, I would move approval.
Okay. So there's a motion to approve the vouchers as presented while holding the City of Topeka, Kansas EFT for $875,323.
Again, I don't think there's any major issues. It was just maybe a category error or something, so I'm sure it can be,
For further explanation.
yes.
And we will take up that then on the 29th.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 2, consider correction orders.
I'll make a motion to approve the correction orders.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Department of Corrections, number 1, consider approval to waive the formal bidding process and to purchase a replacement HVAC rooftop unit for the Juvenile Detention Center from PCI Mechanical Services for approximately $13,811.
Have to get set up with all the presentations. Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Department of Corrections. Today before you is a request to waive the formal bidding procedure and process to replace one of the HVAC. This is a smaller unit that's at the youth center. We have been having problems with this for some time now. At the beginning of June, the heat has really kicked in. When we started having problems, we called Bill with facilities management, and we did talk to Betty with administrative services regarding this. The most cost-effective way is, do we continue to keep fixing this at $3,500, or do we go ahead and take the the jump in going ahead and replacing it. It is a very small unit. The cost is $13,811. In speaking with Bill, he did believe that this was the best and most cost-efficient way was to replace it. We did talk with Betty regarding this vendor. This is the vendor we have is the one that I think it's PCI, but they are the ones that have all of our other contracts with replacing our HVAC system. We did speak with Betty there. We do have the money in our budget to do this, and I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Brian, I think there's the old saying of penny wise and pound foolish, and you get to that point to where are you going to continue to put smaller amounts in, but it's going to cost you more over the long run, or do you make the investment? I appreciate that you've talked with Bill Crowell, our facilities management, or facilities maintenance director, on this. These items that you have, and you said it's within your budget, what about the other HVAC units that we have? Where do we stand with those?
We do still have to, we set up a 5-year plan to replace one a year, the bigger units. We did get the money set aside, and working with Betty with those in the capital outlay. That money has been set aside. They're about 125 or 130. We did talk a little bit at first. I thought, well, maybe if this is going to be one of the bigger units, we do this one this year, and the one we thought we just would wait. This one here being a smaller one, and then we just recently having our KDHE audit regarding the different types of air exchanges and the temperature that needs to be at the youth center. That's why we thought that, talking to Bill and our maintenance staff, of that we need to continue to do both of them because this one's such a smaller cost.
Okay.
So, but the money has been put away and is set aside for the bigger one this year.
Other questions? I'll make a motion to approve the request to waive the formal bidding procedure to purchase the replacement HVAC roof unit.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 2, consider authorization and execution of contract C-234, 2015 through C-238, 2015 with Foley Equipment Company for service of 5 emergency generators at the Adult and Juvenile Detention Centers and the Corrections Annex for 36 months at a combined cost of $11,348 per year.
Brian Cole, Department of Corrections. This is just a general upkeep and the maintenance when it comes to the testing of our generators that are required when we go into accreditation, and also when it comes to KDHE and how we manage our emergency generators. In case of a power outage, these are what keep the jail running. We have had power outages before. These automatically kick in pretty quick. They can last for several days. But this is the company that we've worked with. They are Martin Tractor and Foley are the ones who are the sole vendor regarding taking care of our these types of emergency generators. And they do the annual testing and making sure in the maintenance and making sure things are okay.
Brian, do we not have a agreement with Foley at this point? Is this
It's just a continuing. Yeah, we have one in the past, yes. It's just an ongoing upgrading and continuing on, yes.
Okay, so this is just picking up where the last one left off?
Absolutely. And this will kick off, this one here the old one will stop when this one kicks in.
Okay. And is there a cost increase from the prior?
Yes, in the past, there is a price increase this time. In the past, we did not include some general testing in there, just some maintenance. And so what we were doing, we found out we should be testing these more often. We were just having them come out, and it was much more costly for them just to come out independently of a contract of maintenance to do these general testing. So we threw it all in, and when we compared apples to apples, having this included in a 3-year contract is much cheaper than having just the maintenance and then just coming out and doing testing independent of a contract. So there is a slight increase. We have budgeted for it with the expectation, knowing that this was going to be a little higher, and we'll budget in the future. But we wanted to put that in because it was cheaper.
Okay.
Move approval of the contracts.
Motion by Commissioner Bueller for approval of the contracts.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 3, consider authorization and execution of contract C-239, 2015 with CE Water Management, Inc. for service and materials associated with management of the water flowing through the department's water softeners, cooler tower system, closed loops, and boilers for 3 years at a monthly cost of $380.
Brian Cole again. Adding on to what you had asked earlier, Commissioner Cook, this is a general maintenance, just a continuation of operations that we have. I think last week there was on the agenda regarding a water softener, and this is very valuable to the plumbing and the pipes and the infrastructure that we have at the jail, that this water softener and the water treatment does maintain the existence of that plumbing infrastructure. This is a contract we've had in place for several years. This is just a continuation, that this will start when the other one ends, and there was no cost increase, in my understanding.
Any discussion?
Motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer for approval of the contract, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 4, consider authorization and execution of contract C-240-2015 with Sound Products, Inc. for surveillance system upgrade at the Juvenile Detention Center at a cost of $18,607.45 to be paid from the Juvenile Detention Facility funds.
Good morning again, Brian Cole. This came at a request in reviewing our overall structure and our surveillance systems that we have at the youth center. We have several classrooms that we do have visual surveillance, but we don't have audio. And we did recently have an incident in there where we wanted to get a little bit more information of what happened. We didn't have the audio in there. We did talk to Sound Products regarding this, and to be able to replace and upgrade to give us, to reduce blind spots in this, also to enhance our safety and security of actually getting the information and intelligence we need. And looking at these cameras, we did not budget for those, and so thus we were not going to be able to move forward with that. But we do have money in the juvenile detention funds to be able to use for this. These funds are given to us by the State Department of Corrections and JJA regarding us to allow us to use these funds to better our infrastructure at the facility, cameras that go to the better safety and security of staff and the juveniles. So this is not budgeted funds. This is basically kind of similar to grant funds that we get from the state to help us enhance our operation. We'd like to use these. We have to also let them know what we'd like to use the money for, and they're on board with that as well. So this does enhance our safety and security for the juveniles and staff, and just makes it a better all operation.
Questions?
No, I have no questions.
Brian, I do have one. Included with this, is there a maintenance cost? Is there a maintenance agreement? And
We do have, Sound Products does have maintenance already that goes along with this, and that would be added to this as well. They'll maintain this new stuff here. And we'll look at the contract to see how much it would cost to add for next year. I believe right now that this will go ahead and take care of this, because it's going to take a little bit of time to put everything in. But Sound Products will maintain this.
questions? Commissioner, motion by.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner
Second.
Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item C, Sheriff's Office. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-241-2015 with Taser International for purchase of 12 officer body cameras with a 5-year data storage and maintenance plan for reserve officers at a cost of $47,155.03.
Good morning, Commissioners. Captain Hubler with the Sheriff's Office. Just a continuation of the Sheriff's Office efforts to get body-worn cameras on all available officers. These particular cameras are being purchased for our reserve officers who volunteer to do the same work, and they're going to use their funds that they get through separate contracts, et cetera, throughout the year. And it's just a continuing effort to try and get everybody with body-worn cameras.
So this would be in addition to the grant application that we had a short period ago with the city of Topeka for the camera application. We had the Justice Grant 2 meetings ago,
Right.
and so this is just in addition to that. So
This is separate. It's just because they are expensive, and trying to get everybody outfitted is something we're looking at all kinds of different avenues to try and fund that. We still won't be completely everybody wearing body-worn cameras even with this purchase, and we're looking at some other avenues to continue that process.
Other questions from council commissioners? Since we are looking at a multiple year contract, I think we do need a motion Just because of its obligation, I'll make a motion to approve the request by the Sheriff's Office.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item D, District Court. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-242, 2015 with CenturyLink LLC for internet service for the court's off-site limited actions docket at Ag Hall and Heritage Hall at the Kansas Expo Center for 1 year at a cost of $289 per month from the court administration budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kathy Lenhart, Court Administration. This is a continuation of an existing service agreement with this company. Continues to allow the court to do this massive docket off-site, so they're not coming through the security here and dealing with the crowds and the parking and everything that goes along with it. So we're very appreciative of being able to do this. Do you have any questions?
Any questions regarding this request?
Motion to approve the contract.
Mo-
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer for approval of the contract, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 2, consider authorization and execution of contract C-243, 2015 with Eagle Technologies for annual maintenance for the court's backup software in the amount of $5,933.36 from the court administration budget.
This is also a continuance of an existing maintenance agreement with this company. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you
so
very
much.
much. Next item.
Item E, Public Works. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-244, 2015 with Water District Number 8 for relocation of their facilities in conflict with the Southeast Stinson Creek on Southeast Tecumseh Road project at a cost of $19,308.30.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block with Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a Public Works item. In any infrastructure project in which we are doing improvements, if there are utilities that are within their own easement or their own right-of-way and we require them to be moved, we end up having to pay for those costs. And this is the case, and this is always usually the case with rural water districts. They typically have their own easements. So we need to enter into an agreement with Shawnee County Rural Water District Number 8 to reimburse them for the cost that they are going to incur for relocating their facilities for us to replace this bridge, which is located just north of Southeast 29th Street on Tecumseh Road. Funding for this would come from the current county half-cent sales tax program. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions regarding this request?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Archer for approval,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 2, consider approval of award bid for the purchase of 365,000 gallons of road oil to Vance Brothers, Inc. in an amount of $700,800.
Commissioners, Tom Block again with Public Works and Solid Waste. This too is a Public Works item. We are ready to get going here very soon to do a lot of our road maintenance work this summer, of which a lot of it will be chip sealing, and this oil is used to do the chip sealing work. We went out for public bid for this. We received 2 bids, which is typically the case. We have 2 primary suppliers in the region. The low bid was supplied by Vance Brothers, who we have purchased the oil from in the past several years, and they provide a quality product. Their bid came in at $700,800, and of which we also, as you're aware, we maintain Monmouth Township's roads on their behalf. So we are purchasing the oil on their behalf, so which approximately estimated to be about $165,000 worth of oil. Of that $700,000 would be reimbursed by Monmouth Township. The funding for this from Public Works would come from our general operations budget, and then the remainder of the $165,000 plus or minus would come from Monmouth Township's roadway fund. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Tom, how does this compare to prior years? Are we seeing this cost go up? Are we seeing it go down? Is it flat?
Actually, I think it's gone down. I think this is like $1.92 per gallon. I think, if I recall, last year I was thinking we were around like 202, and then the year before that like 212. So it's gone down some the last few years.
Okay. No. Any other questions regarding this item? I'll make a motion to approve the request of the purchase of the oil.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 3, consider approval of request to fill a vacant road maintenance position at a salary, including benefits, of $38,360.57.
Commissioners, Tom Block again with Public Works and Solid Waste. This too is a public works item. I do want to make one clarification. The actual memo that was supplied is requesting to fill 2 positions. We have 2 vacancies. One of our staff members is leaving to enter into the law enforcement world, become a police officer. And the second person was actually a person who started not too long ago and was still on probationary status and literally just stopped showing up for work, essentially abandoned the position. So we have 2 road maintenance positions that are open. Each one of them expect the annual cost of including benefits of $38,360.57 each, and the funding, which is included in our operational budget, would come from the Public Works Road Maintenance Fund. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Any question regarding filling these 2 road maintenance positions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer for approval, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 4, consider approval of request to solicit bids for the milling of asphalt pavement services on the following roads: Southwest 61st Street, Southwest Wanamaker to Southwest Burlingame Road, Southeast 45th Street, Southeast Tecumseh Road to Southeast McMahon Court, Northwest 46th Street, Northwest Button Road to Northwest Rochester Road, and Southeast Oak Bend Manitowoc Drive, Monmouth Township, at an estimated cost of $120,000, with approximately $10,000 being funded from Monmouth Township's Road Maintenance Fund.
Commissioners, Tom Block again, Public Works and Solid Waste. This too is a public works item. As I just mentioned, we are getting ready to do a lot of our, the majority of our road maintenance work. This would be involved or part of the process of doing our overlay work. We have found, and I believe that when doing an overlay, if you can mill off the top 2 inches and get a level surface, you end up with a much higher quality road surface in the end that might last much longer. So these are the roads that we would need to mill. There's another road, 77th Street, and another short portion of Northwest Carlson Road that don't require milling because they're a chip seal. So we don't mill off the chip seal. But these would be the ones that would require milling. The Southeast Oak Bend Montowic Drive, that is a Monmouth Township roadway. So they would be reimbursing us for those costs, but we would lump these all together to go out for bid to do the milling for those. The funding would come from our road maintenance contractual services for our portion, and again, the portion that Monmouth Township for that road would come from their road maintenance fund. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Tom, approximately how long do we go between these sorts of projects on the roads? I mean, how long can a road last before we bring to mill it? Is it just based on usage? Is it age?
Yes, a lot of it is dependent upon the types of vehicles that drive a certain roadway. If there's lots of heavy vehicles, that will wear it out. It's based on, for instance, like a semi is the equivalent, I think they say, of like, I don't know, tens of thousands of cars driving on that road. So if you have a lot of semi-traffic and a lot of heavy roads, that road surface will wear out much quicker. But on average, we would say, I would say 10 years, just on average, if we do a decent milling and a 2-inch overlay. Some longer, some may be shorter, but say on average 10.
The reason I ask, on the Northwest 46th Street, I thought it to be a relatively newer road, and so I'm a little bit surprised by that one.
No, actually, what we're trying to do there, and this is part of our strategic plan, not our master plan, but I've identified several main roadways that I want to develop as a major road corridor around in the county, and Northwest 46th Street is one of those roads. So I think back in 2009 or 2010, I think it's 2009, we completed up near Hunter's Ridge, just immediately east of Highway 75, those two roundabouts in front of the commercial area. And then here just recently, we completed the section, the roundabout at North Topeka Boulevard and Northwest Rochester Road, and we completed that section in there. This would mill and overlay the roadway in between those two, and so we would have a really nice stretch of roadway from Highway 75 all the way to Topeka Boulevard. And our ultimate goal then is to get it very nice all the way out to K4, so that ultimately you could go from K4 to Highway 75 without ever having to stop with the roundabouts in there. But this section that we're looking at on Northwest 46 will greatly improve that current section of roadway.
When you do an overlay project, do you close down both lanes of traffic and the whole road, or is it just one lane at a time?
It depends, to be honest with you. I don't know if we necessarily decided, but we would likely, it's easier if you can close the whole road down, just because you don't have to worry about the traffic, but I can't say for certain what we're gonna do in this case. We'll have to discuss it internally and decide, so I guess I can't really answer that.
Right. And again, with road construction projects, milling projects, there's notice that goes out to the residents.
Yeah, what we like to do, and this seemed to be pretty effective, is we'll typically just write up a little memo that just says, this is what's coming up, this is the project, this is what's gonna be involved, and this is how long we expect it to occur. And then we'll go hand deliver those to the people that we think in the general area that will be mostly affected. And that way it answers a lot of their questions before they even have to ask them. And then it saves us time in the end by not having to take as many phone calls or respond to emails. If we can answer their questions before they ask them, we tend to be better off. So,
Other questions regarding this item? I'll make a motion to approve the milling projects.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 5, consider approval of request to reclassify an Office Assistant 1 position to an Office Assistant 2 position at a salary, including benefits, of $33,646.
Commissioners, Tom Block again. This is actually a solid waste item, and you may recall several weeks ago I'd gotten a permission from the commission to hire in an Office Assistant 2 position for our solid waste department, because at that time, well, not at that time, but we came to the conclusion that filling an Office Assistant 1 position, typically when another position, like an Office Assistant 2 throughout the county, becomes open to Office Assistant 1, applies for that position and transfers to a different department for the higher wage. Well, in this case, we got the permission for the Office 2 position, Assistant 2 position. We actually had someone in our office that was in an Office Assistant 1 position who then was able to qualify to be an Office Assistant 2, so she basically just applied and took a promotion, so we're still short a staff person. So I want to fill that position again, but I don't want to fill an Office Assistant 1 position. I'd rather go with an Office Assistant 2 to prevent hopefully someone coming in and then leaving immediately or shortly thereafter. So as a result, my request is to reclassify that position up to an Office Assistant 2 position. The difference in pay between the two is about 94 cents an hour, and the funding would come from our Shawnee County Solid Waste Department budget, which again, so I haven't reminded somebody in a while, is an enterprise fund, so we operate solely on fees from our customers and do not receive any tax funds.
Tom, this is something that has gone through the HR departments for them to review and approve as well.
Correct.
Other questions regarding this item?
Move to. Go right ahead.
Move approval of the
Second.
request.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item F, Parks and Recreation, number 1 and 2 have been pulled. Number 3, consider renewal application from the Kansas Department for Children and Families so that Shawnee South Day Camp and Passport to Adventures licensed youth programs can continue to offer low-income families an opportunity for their children to attend the camps and before after-school programs with assistance from the state of Kansas.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Recreation. This item may appear to be just a routine item, but I think that plus several other activities that have been going on this week in particular with Parks and Recreation, I'd kind of like to speak to some of that. If there are any naysayers, which I'm sure there are, about the merger of the Parks and Rec Department and the implementation of the master plan, a lot of times people begin to think that maybe we're only looking out for the dollar and some of those type of things. But there's been several activities just this week. We had a field naming for Jim Parrish, who helped start the Highland Park Baseball Association. The sole mission of that group is to not turn away any participants because of their lack of ability to pay. They volunteer to offset some of those costs through the Friends of Dornwood. We also had a grand opening at the Boys and Girls Club, formerly the Abbott Community Center, in which their sole mission is to deal with the people in our community who are less financially able to participate. That was a great partnership. This is just another example. We have a scholarship program in which people can apply for offsetting costs through our department, but takes it even one step farther and allows us to take state payments for kids to attend our before-school and after-school programs and our summer camp programs. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Also noting, John, that during the summer months, you employ and utilize a platoon of temporary employees. And it's quite a task to hire on 600.
In the neighborhood, yeah, in the neighborhood of 600.
Wow. At one time, to get them hired, trained, and out into the workforce.
And many times, just as we get them trained and ready to go, school starts. We start over next year. No, our seasonal staff, there were some things recently on TV about water safety with our pool lifeguards, some of those type of things. The roles that our young people play in our department are extremely important. Topeka, Shawnee County's blessed to have such a good talent pool of all those people coming to work for us. So,
Any questions regarding this request? I'll move to approve the agreement with the Kansas Department of Health and Environment.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 4, consider authorization and execution of contract C 245-2015 with the Shawnee Boat and Ski Club for the operation of the 2015 Kansas State Championship Water Ski Tournament with cost to the county of $205 and revenue to the Parks and Recreation Foundation of $200.
Commissioners, this is a special use contract for a special event, special use of Lake Shawnee, the Boat and Ski Club. This is most big special events have a life of about 5 to 8 years. This one, as you can see from my memo, is going to be its 45th year. It's the water ski people from all around the state and the Midwest come to this event. It's highly attended. It's a great event. I will have instructions for Sean to try to deal and see if we can't get $5 more out of him to cover all of the county's costs next year. He is here and be happy to answer any other detailed questions about this event that he has.
John, which item are you signed up for? What event?
I'm busy that weekend. I promised my wife I'd do the laundry.
Motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer for approval of the contract, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, John. Next item.
Item G, Human Resources. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C 246-2015, addendum to Contract C 232-2015 with CBiz for comparative staffing analysis at an additional cost not to exceed $9,000.
Good morning, Commissioner. Jim Crowell, Interim Human Resources Director. This item is a proposed addendum to the contract you approved last week with CBiz to perform an additional function, which would be a comparative staffing analysis. The scope of services to be provided is described in the addendum. If we go forward with that piece, at this point in time, the cost is $9,000 or not to exceed $9,000 as opposed to $15,000 if you wanted to do that type of analysis at a later date. If approved, the work that would be done for that analysis would be done alongside with the compensation study, and the results would be provided along with the study as an additional tool for your review. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about this item.
I used the phrase penny wise and pound foolish earlier today, and I think that's where we're back to, is whether or not this is a prudent investor of our tax dollars, and whether or not this is going to be of a benefit to the county in the long run. Commissioner Archer, I know that this is something that's been on your mind, and you've been looking at this for quite a time, and you have thoughts.
Well, I just think it represents a balanced approach. Are we staffed right, and are we compensating our employees fairly? So with that, it is important to me that this be done, and so I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Commissioner Bueller, your thoughts?
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer for approval of the contract, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item.
Administrative Communications, number 1, update on the Willard Bridge project.
Commissioners, Tom Black once again, Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a Public Works item, as we all know, and again, this is the monthly update to tell you where we're at on the Willard Bridge project. I have some little handouts here I will give you if you want to take notes along the way, but that are copies of the slides. Alrighty. Again, the presentation outline will be similar as we've done in the past. I'll go over the weekly inspection update that Finney and Turnipseed has been conducting on our behalf. I'll go through design update, permitting update, right-of-way update, utility relocation update, funding update, and review the schedule, and then discuss some other items that are out there regarding the project. As far as a weekly inspection update, again, happy to report there's no change in the conditions since the last status. Finney and Turnipseed has been going out there every Friday, so it's been holding status quo. One thing people may notice when they're out there is due to the hot weather and the expansion of the structural members, the bridge will tend to make more noise as they drive over it. So, but even though there's more noise, there's actually no cause for concern. I just want people to be aware that that is going on, with, especially when it gets to like a day like today, when it's this warm. But the bottom line is there's no change, and things are holding steady as far as that's concerned. As far as design update, again, just to review, the bridge design is divided into 3 units. Unit 1's 2 and 3. The Unit 1 being the south end of the bridge over the railroad. Unit 2 is the portion spanning the Kansas River, and Unit 3 on the north end of the bridge. As far as Unit 1 is 98% complete. Now, as we get towards the end of these, we get towards the end of a design of a unit, percentages creep up very slowly because they get into very fine details. So your percentage increases don't really go up very quickly towards the end. That's why I think last time we said we were only at 97% of Unit 1. Unit 2, we're up to 90% complete, and Unit 3, we're at 75% complete. Again, with all this said, we are still on schedule to be late July, August timeframe of having the entire thing complete, like we had mentioned last month. So we think we're still on schedule to have that done. As far as permitting update, Union Pacific Railroad is still in the process of reviewing the plans. We believe that they will get this reviewed in the time frame we need. I think they are very fully aware and have been very cooperative in doing the review. So at this point, we don't have any concerns with that. So that is good news. And as far as environmental permitting is concerned, there's it's called the NEPA, stands for National Environmental Pollution Act document that needs to be done. Back when we started this project, several years ago, back in 2010, I believe it was, when we had done what's called a field check. And at that time, I think I mentioned before, we were always, oh, I'm sorry, backwards. We are always hoping that our, planning or trying to put ourselves in a position that if we ever got federal funds, we would be in a position to do so. Was part of that process, you have to go through a NEPA process, and to do that, we have to work through. Or KDOT allowed us to, even though it wasn't a KDOT project, allowed us to set up a KDOT project number, which was actually, doesn't sound like a big deal, but actually was a pretty big deal. And since we did the field check, then KDOT's kind of been helping lead the process, this NEPA process, which can be very, very time consuming and very lengthy to get done. They have led that charge for us and have gotten to they've gone through a lot of the work and to where they've reached a point where they believe the project is considered what's called a categorical exclusion, which is the kind of categorical exclusion just means there's really not that much of an impact, which is what you want. They are now in the process, since we're much more serious and think the timeline of trying to get this place is much closer. They're going to go back and reconfirming those clearances due to the time frame from when they've gone through it before, which is several years ago. But I'm assuming that remains in the categorical exclusion category. We'll be in a pretty good position to move forward with the project. Some others that we're working on: the Corps of Engineers 404 permit and Kansas Department of Wildlife action plan. Those are to be submitted in mid-July, and then we also, after that, we will submit a KDHE notice of intent and have KDOT's Environmental Services action permit to submit. But those we have no issues, or we don't have any concerns right now of being able to meet the deadlines that we need to. As far as right-of-way update is concerned, as far as the northeast quadrant and the northwest quadrant, the right-of-way documents have been finalized, and we'll be sending out notices to the affected property owners here and begin negotiations with those property owners in the next 2 weeks. On the southeast quadrant, just a reminder, we had entered into agreement with the one major property owner. We've entered into agreement, and the commission has agreed to and executed that document. We also have some other property owners who we have very minor needs from. Again, those right-of-way documents have now been finalized, and again, as in the same as those in the northeast and northwest quadrants, we'll be notifying them and beginning negotiations with them to acquire those pieces of property. So that is on task, and that, I don't know if we'll be able to get all that done in a month or not in July, but I would say within the next 60 days, hopefully we'll have. Hopefully we'll be able to come to agreement with all those property owners. And as far as the southwest quadrant, there's no change there. The right-of-way documents have been finalized and given to Wabunsee County, and they are now in the process of acquiring those, since the southwest quadrant of the project is actually in Wabunsee County. As far as utility update, there's really been no change. The utilities on this project are really, for the most part, fairly minor. So we met with Westar before. We believe the intent is that they will connect their utility, and we'll provide provisions for them to connect to the bridge, and so we think we're all on board there. The other utility would be rural water, which shouldn't be a big issue, but we really haven't done much with utilities in the last month. Again, it's not a critical path item at this point for the project. As far as the funding update is concerned, the Tiger Grant, as you are aware, we were working very vigorously to get with Parsons Brinkerhoff to get the Tiger Grant application submitted. We did submit that by the deadline on June 5th. We requested $16.7 million in federal funds as part of the grant application. The benefit cost analysis that came out of our application, and Parsons Brinkerhoff has like economists on staff that run through all kinds of economic calculations and impacts and things like that. I can't say I really know exactly what this all means, but but maybe Rob can tell us. Commissioner Arthur can tell us. But they do it over a 30-year period, and at a 7% discount rate, the I think it's net present value, is that right, NPV? Is 92.1 million, I believe, in benefits, which the benefit cost ratio is 7.35. And if you do it at a 3% discounted rate, that net present value is 173.9 million with a benefit cost ratio of 15.55. What I do know, at least in talking with Parsons Brinkerhoff, is those are good numbers, and so they were pretty happy about the numbers that had developed. But it's kind of interesting with all the things they go through. There's a number of things that they account for, like fuel costs and maintenance costs for having to drive longer, time it takes to go around the detours, and they assign a wage value to that, and there's just a myriad of things that they include to come up with the benefit cost ratio. So according to their analysis, this bridge is well worth replacing, I guess, put it that way. And we anticipate Tiger Grant award. I'm still a little unclear when we might expect. I was originally thinking October, but in speaking, I had a conversation with Jerry Younger at KDOT earlier this week, and he had indicated, based on some past experience when KDOT had submitted applications, that they were fairly quickly the awards were fairly quick in their turnaround. So I'm thinking by the end of September we should have an idea of where we stand if we get an award or not. Now the good news on excuse me before I go on. Regarding the Tiger Grant, I do want to call out or point out all the letters of support we got from folks as part of our application. We got a joint letter of support from Representative Jenkins, Senator Roberts, and Senator Moran, who issued a joint federal legislation document or letter of support. That is, according to Parsons Brinkerhoff, that's a really big deal to have the three of them come together and issue a joint letter. Also, Union Pacific Railroad wrote a letter on our behalf, and that is a really big deal too, in my opinion. And KDOT has agreed to administer the Tiger Grant. That's one of the main components, is that if you get a grant, you've got someone that has the expertise in administering it. We really don't have the expertise in house to administer it. KDOT has agreed to do that on our behalf if we get it. So while all of these entities are extremely important to getting the letters, and I really appreciate it, the ones from our federal legislators, Union Pacific and KDOT, are really important. But also, it would be remiss if I didn't recognize Wawansie County Commission, the Potawatomi County Commission, City of Rossville, USD 321, and Westar. They all submitted letters of support on behalf of our project, so hopefully that will resonate with the review committee. Now, as far as our KDOT request on our advance, this is where I've got some really potentially good news. I called and spoke with Jerry Younger today, and I basically said, all right, Jerry, I'm here for my normal call. Tell me what I think I already know. And to my surprise, he said that KDOT is in a position that they are willing to provide us a no-interest advance loan for between $7 to $10 million. That is tremendous news. There are a couple qualifiers on that, though, provided there's no drastic economic downturn in the upcoming year. And also, we need to develop a funding package for the balance of the project before we come to them and determine how much we need. But that alone puts us, in my opinion, in an extremely good position, because not only we would need to, from my discussions with him, we would need to pay it back over 10 years in interest free. That will save us several millions of dollars in interest costs. Well, that is excellent news. And I can't thank them enough. I was just shocked when he told me that they were being in a position. He said that they had been kind of planning for this and what was going on with the legislature, and he said nothing from the extended legislative session occurred that they hadn't already anticipated. So they we're in a position to be able to do this for us. So that is
Awesome.
excellent news.
Commissioner Archer.
That is good news, but never cash a check unless you've got a check.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. That's why I
Okay.
say there's some qualifiers.
Thank you. Yes.
Absolutely.
And with their fiscal year, the funding, if it's available, wouldn't be available until July 1st of 2016. So if we are able to get this project going in the first part of the year, we may have a few months of where we might need to take some temporary financing, like the first 4 or 5 or maybe 6 months of the project. But the funding is provided based on actual reimbursable expenses, so as we incur them and pay our applications to our payments to the contractor, we would then turn around and then make the reimbursement request to KDOT, and that's how they would reimburse us on that aspect. So that is good news. The other item as far as funding and the components that we had talked about previously is the sales tax extension. There's no change. I know there's negotiations upcoming for that. But what I will say is that's now becoming, in my opinion, a very high priority that those discussions take place and get resolved. And I think we really should be shooting for an end of September or maybe October timeframe. I know the details are the sticking point, or but anything the commission can do to work with your counterparts at the city to get that agreement and the details worked out, I think is extremely important, because as you know, we're hoping we can get an additional $10 million for the bridge funds that would be used then to pay back the advance from KDOT. And then just to review, this is what I had brought to your attention or had presented back in February as far as potential funding strategy. I've updated a little bit. And the ones in red are ones that are, I guess, for lack of a better term, confirmed or pretty much confirmed, I guess, with the KDOT advance of $7 to $10 million. How we would repay that, hopefully it would be, in the sales tax extension funds between the years 2017 and 2026. The Tiger Grant put here in yellow. It'd be wonderful if we get something. I just really don't know what the extent of that's going to be, whether it be $5 million, $10 million, 0. But it's in there. It's just another. It's another tool we may have to utilize to help with the project. The $6 to $7 million anticipated excess from the current sales tax, the commission has already approved on dedicating towards this project. Wabunsee County, myself and Tom Flanagan and Craig Maddox with Finney and Turnipseed went and met with Wabunsee County on June 1st, and we discussed this, and and they are fully aware that they'll be looking at potentially upwards of $1 million. And discuss where they possibly might be getting the funding from, and so they are fully aware and they acknowledge that. And then also we believe possibly from additional sales tax extension funds, we get $1.5 million a year. We could possibly pull some of that, apply it towards this, or some of our federal obligation funds that we get through KDOT. Each year we could possibly use that in what we call our 391 account, which has been, if it stays in place, the $650,000 that the commission has granted to Public Works for local matching funds for projects. We could possibly tap into that to get another $1 to $2 million. And then this here in black, which I had mentioned back in February, can we, knowing that we've got like 27 pay periods, and we've got our reserve balance up to where we want, is it possible where we might be able to tap into the general fund for a couple years, maybe 2, maybe 3? I don't think we have to go to 3, but maybe 2. These are all things that we have some options, but this is where we'll need to get with Betty Griner to develop some package plans based on one of them, assuming we don't get a Tiger grant, and then one of them if we do get a Tiger grant. That was something we'll have to develop, before we ever go back to KDOT and say, okay, this is what we think we need. So anyway, I just wanted to give a reminder of some potential strategy that we discussed before. And again, this is just back from my presentation in February, some vital project components. One of them listed was the advance from KDOT. That one looks promising now, and the reason it was so important was it would provide a good majority of construction funding for 2016 construction year. Again, it wouldn't be available until July 1st, so we may need to do some temporary financing for the first few months of the project. And then we could, I think once July 1st comes around, we could then basically get about all that reimbursed. But so on average, if construction costs were on average, I'd say $1 million a month, we may have, temporary financing for $1 million for a 4-month period, and then another $1 million for temporary financing for a 3-month period, and another $1 million for 2 months, another $1 million for a month. Just so on average, say about $2 to $2.5 million for a 4-month financing period, as opposed to $10 million over 10 years. That's tremendous. Could be tremendous savings in financing costs. Again, this money that would be available prior to the current sales tax excess funds that would become available in the first quarter of 2017, I believe, because the current sales tax ends on December 31st of 2016, and then there's a little bit of lag time to have your end of the year sales tax receipts get calculated and distributed and things like that. But again, it would really significantly reduce bonding costs because of that. And again, just as a reminder, again, from our discussion in February, the sales tax extension, county bridge allotment, we're hoping to get $32.5 million from that, of which $10 million could be allotted specifically towards the Willard Bridge, which would then pay back, utilize to pay back the advance from KDOT. And then also another vital project component that we mentioned back several months ago was just the assistance in expediting the Union Pacific Railroad agreement. At this point, we think everyone's on board, and we're, from what we know of today, we don't have really any concerns that won't happen. So we really appreciate anybody and everybody that's helped us, getting that, and especially the Union Pacific Railroad, because they are very aware of the importance of this. And this is just a reminder of what our project schedule was. I think there are a few things, that may have slipped a little bit in design. We are thinking we might be done by the beginning of July. Looks now we're going to be the end of July, into August, but that won't affect, should not affect the progress of the project as far as getting it constructed. Right of way, we had anticipated we hopefully get it all done by the end of July. If we can get these minor tracks acquired in this next month, we will meet that, but again, we may go into August. Hopefully we will not have any major disagreements with property owners, but we think we can accomplish that, and even if it goes again into August, it shouldn't impact the construction. Utility adjustments, again, that is not a critical path. Well, we can really almost do that into 2017 if we need to, because that will be, when they get impacted, will be in the second year of construction. Our agreement with Shawnee County, with Muncie County, we have a draft agreement, but we really can't have them, we really can't give it to them to review until we really figure out, honestly, when we figure out what's going to happen with the sales tax extension and the interlocal agreement, because that funding and all is kind of going to tie back into how they will fund. So they're interrelated. There is a draft agreement written, but we're really just sitting on it until we get that other portion figured out. The Union Pacific Railroad Agreement, again, we think we should be meeting that deadline. So as of now, we think we still can be in a position of being ready to bid in December or January. Now, if we were successful in getting a Tiger Grant Award, there are some administrative requirements that may push that back, just because there's just more federal requirements. So, but that would be, I suppose, a bad problem to have if we were to get something like that. Now, on some good news that I really was not aware of. You know, we want to get we want to get started in early next year to begin this construction, because come April 1st, we need to be out of the river. Contractor can't do any disturbance to the river. What I was not aware of, and this is another reason why we really want to get going early in the year, is if we were to be able to get started in January, February, it gives the contractor time to go out and build their causeways into the river. Basically, it's just like their access roads out into the river to move their equipment and park their equipment and do their work. If they have those constructed and they're above the water level, as long as they don't get washed away by a flood, if they have those constructed, they can still continue to use those causeways. They just can't add any more soil or dirt or just do any disturbance to the river after April 1st. But they can be out in the river on those causeways doing their work. So that's why it's really important to get started early in the year so they can get those built. If they can get those built and they stay, they can work off of those causeways all summer long. So that I was thinking they just couldn't go in the river at all. But if they're on their causeways, they can actually be in the river, just not doing any more disturbance to the river. So, and again, if all falls into place like we would hope, hope we could be constructing in, by February of next year and be complete with the project by the end of 2017. And with that, I will open it up for questions.
Tom, I think the big takeaway is that there has not been any further deterioration of the bridge.
Correct.
So that's the big takeaway for today. Outside of that, there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of moving parts. And that's what I took away from today, that you're working diligently on finding a solution to how we will, as a county, fund, replace the Willard Bridge. And this is a priority for Public Works and priority for the County Commission. But it's important to note, for the public safety, that the bridge is still safe. It has not had further deterioration, and that the public should not be worried about more noise from the summer months than they would have in other months. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
Other thoughts, commissioners?
I think you might want to, instead of saying everything falls into place, let's try
Well.
not to use that, okay? But we did talk a couple months ago about a more in-depth inspection in the summertime. And so can you tell us a little bit about that and what plans are in place for that? Because we're just doing visual inspections
Right.
now.
I would anticipate that would most likely be probably in August. I think we want to push to get this design done, and then get them out there. So I would anticipate in August.
Okay. And that includes what, Tom? They do sonar type inspections as well?
Well, they would get what's called a snooper truck, and it allows them to physically go in. They parked on the bridge, and it has like an arm that can bend around, and they can look at every single joint, basically. Much easier than, rather than crawling around, I guess. But, so that's really what it does, is it allows them to get up and get a very close visual inspection of essentially all the members of the bridge.
Questions?
Not yet.
Commissioner Archer?
Thank you, and I'd like to take a few minutes. The Tiger Ground application, how much did we pay for that?
We paid $33,000.
$33,000, and those are experts. I assume that we contracted with experts, engineering experts in the field. And I have to respectfully disagree with Commissioner Cook. after reviewing the Tiger Grant application. And if I may take a few minutes so that the public, I want to hit some key themes from the Tiger Grant application. The Willard Bridge has shown signs of stress and decline since the 1970s. While the bridge has been maintained regularly by Shawnee County Public Works, it is 60 years old, far past its serviceable life, and has been classified using the terminology of the National Bridge Inventory as functionally obsolete, structurally deficient, and fracture critical. The bridge has the same fracture critical design as the I-35 West Mississippi River Bridge that collapsed in Minneapolis to devastating consequences in August of 2007. During its most recent inspection, the bridge was given a sufficiency rating of 23.7 out of a 100-point system. There is substantial rust, holes, and cracking in elements of the superstructure and the substructure. The two images below offer a sample, and this is from the report, of the rust and holes that are prevalent throughout the structure. The Willard Bridge is designated as fracture critical, which means that the failure of any one main structural member will cause a significant portion or the entire bridge to collapse. The bridge has the same fracture critical design as the Mississippi River Bridge that collapsed in Minneapolis, Minnesota to devastating consequences in August of 2007. Compounding the issues related to the fracture critical design, there is substantial rusting in the superstructure of the bridge. In many areas, there are a series of holes that span over a foot long. Cracks in the copes appear near every floor beam in the substructure, and piles of rust debris show that the bridge is disintegrating. The bridge is now structurally deficient after 30 years. It is functionally obsolete, it is well past its useful life, and beyond repair. Like the I-35 bridge in Minnesota that collapsed in August 2007, the Willard Bridge is fracture critical, which makes it especially vulnerable to complete failure in its deteriorated state. I want to go on the record as saying that I believe we should close the Willard Bridge to all traffic effective August 1st. I don't know if the other commissioners have had an opportunity to review this report, but it is disturbing, and I just wanted to go on the record with that statement. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for bearing with me.
Thank you very much. I think that, I know that I share many of the same concerns that you've outlined. The Tiger Grant application, Tom's updates show the reasons why the public should be concerned about the bridge, why we should be all very alert to its state, and why we are doing these weekly testings. I know that this hits especially close home to Commissioner Bueller as a daily user of that bridge, and why this is a priority for the commission. As to whether or not the bridge should be closed, I share those concerns. Those are concerns
As we
that
all do.
and I've shared with Tom Blocka. Our Public Works Director, as the county designated engineer, holds in his hands the ability to close any road at any time if he deems it to be imperative to public safety and the health of the community.
That is correct. Yeah, by state statute, that actually does fall to the county engineer, which I currently am for Shawnee County, and that is why we rely heavily on, I have full faith in Craig Maddox and Phineas Turnipseed. And believe me, no one is more worried about that than myself and Mr. Maddox. And if we get to that point, we will not hesitate to do that.
Recently, with the incident that occurred at Heartland Park, a friend texted me and said a bridge has collapsed, and that was the first part of the text that came through. And my heart sunk that I thought for the first thought wasn't Heartland Park, it was Willard Bridge. And that's where it weighs on the mind of myself as a commissioner and the commission in general, that we are very concerned for the safety of our citizens in utilizing that important traffic way. And so, Tom, I share the concerns of Commissioner Archer. If there was any doubt in your mind as to the safety of the citizens, I stress to you that it is imperative that we close that roadway.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree.
So, Commissioner Archer?
I just wanted to point out that the I-35 bridge in Minneapolis was inspected a year before and given a clean bill of health. It was 30 years old when it collapsed. The Willard Bridge is 60 years old, and we have evidence of tremendous deterioration in our bridge. So, thank you again, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Bueller?
I might add, I appreciate KDOT for stepping forward. It's been about 5 months since we received the most recent inspection and pushed a sense of urgency to this project. Again, the alignment is to the east. The new alignment would be to the east and a 2-year construction. And we need to begin construction as soon as possible. I will just say that if you close that bridge, and I know, Tom, you have that ability and you're going to rely on facts and you're going to rely on the engineers to tell you if that's going to become a critical decision. But the impact that that will have to those communities is huge with the school system, and so there are other things that have to be thought of, and they are being thought of. But I wish that this would have been a priority for this commission last summer, when at one point we decided to put the Willard Bridge on the sales tax, and that language specifically was taken off. So I really wish this would have been a higher priority, and I wish that maybe we would have emphasized the fact that we have been working on this project for several years. We know the safety concerns, but that was taken off of that sales tax. And so I will stress the importance of that interlocal agreement. Maybe we need more than 10 million at this point from the interlocal agreement. We don't have a finance package right now for the rest of this bridge. So I think that we need to get on the agenda and get with Betty, like you said, Tom, get this on the agenda and get the package put together.
And again, while I agree, there are some things that, like I said, there are 2 different packages, one without a Tiger Grant and one with.
Right.
We could work on one without, assuming we don't get one.
Well, and when you mention the Tiger Grant, even if, I know there's other circumstances, even if we receive the Tiger Grant, say we only receive 2 or 3 million, there are then certain restrictions then placed on us and certain requirements that we will have to follow that may make it even more expensive to build this bridge. So we'll have some decisions to make even then, correct?
Yes, yeah. I guess we'll have to, we'll wait and see what the outcome is before we can make any predeterminations regarding the Tiger Grant, and if the Tiger Grant fits into this equation at all, so.
Okay, thank you.
But we sure can work on the assumption that we don't get one and try to
Right.
formulate some plan that way. But, so we can work on that
Again, we're
one.
still 2 years from being able to drive on a new bridge.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Tom, before we depart on this topic, it's just of concern as we get into the summer months of June, July, August, September, even into October. Rossville, Willard, Silver Lake, those are very farm-centric communities, even St. Mary's. And if we're looking at transportation that's going across, whether it's combines, grain trucks, cattle, hay, those are all heavy objects, and
Yeah,
and those will have a huge impact on the deterioration of the bridge.
I'll tell you, I sure hope, I think everyone in this area is pretty aware of what's going on, and I sure hope that when that time comes, and you're exactly right, harvest time is a time that bridge probably gets utilized quite a bit. I hope those that are in that position will take one for the team, I guess, and go the longer distance, because we really can't afford to have those types of vehicles utilizing that bridge. We just can't. And hopefully hopefully we can work with the sheriff's department to maybe increase enforcement up in at that time, but you're exactly right. That is not something that we want to happen, is to have a lot of grain trucks and farm implements and, things of that nature utilizing the bridge.
Tom, I would like to think that everybody in Shawnee County and the surrounding communities are watching City Channel 4 and WIBW and KSNT and the Topeka Capital Journal, but I know that that's not the case. Can you check into what the cost would be for running an announcement in the St. Mary's paper? Just again, notifying this is, I know, very regional areas and getting a little bit more press than maybe we would otherwise have. But Wabunsee County having some announcements, especially to those people that might not get it through other means, that do not use this bridge if you are transporting heavy objects. And so everybody thinks it won't be me until it is.
Yeah.
And like I say, you don't know how much I wish that the determination of the bridge being open or closed did not fall on me. 'Cause I don't want to have to be making that decision, but it does by state statute. And believe me, I can guarantee you, I take it extremely seriously, and hope and pray that I'm getting good advice, because let me tell you, it wears on my mind a lot.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
The-
Commissioner Yoder.
Tom, because some might think there's an ag exemption, that agriculture has an exemption to go over that bridge, and that is not the case.
No,
That
the
is not
only
the
exemption
case.
would be emergency vehicles.
Right.
Like if someone,
Right.
say in Willard, had a medical emergency, or a fire,
Right.
that is the
That's the
only
only exception.
exemption.
So, Commissioner Archer.
Okay, and I just wanted to, I appreciate your pointing that out, Mr. Chair, but the fact is, we don't have the ability to monitor traffic on the bridge 24/7. We just don't. So,
Yeah.
again, thank you.
Thank you.
But again, I mean, and I appreciate what you're saying, Commissioner Archer, and I fully understand where you're coming from, but also realize, on this bridge, there are a couple areas that we believe are I guess, the areas of the more concern, and those are the ones that are being looked at weekly. And if something, like I mentioned at the end of the bridge, there's these expansion joints, and they're metal, like fingers, like a foot wide, like 2 6-inch pieces of metal, and they're like fingers put together like saw teeth, and they fit together. And we will get some indication if something is going on ahead of time in the areas that we're most concerned with, because the saw teeth go together, they will start to lift up like that. That will give us some indication that there's more deterioration going on in the areas of most concern for us. So and we are checking those more than a week ago. We'll have people driving over those nearly daily to see if that is starting to happen. So we will get some indication from that. Because if there is more deterioration, like I said, those fingers will come up and there'll be a little hump in that expansion joint. So that is something we're looking at, more than just weekly. So that gives us a little bit of an indication. But it is true that if one, member of this structure fails, there's not any adjacent help from other members.
And
but
I think the
really-
important thing to remember here is that this commission doesn't want a catastrophic event under our watch.
Oh,
That's the key.
I fully get that.
Okay.
Nor do I.
Okay, I understand.
I mean, we're all have the same opinion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Tom, should this commission direct you as the Director of Public Works to close the bridge, what notice requirements do we need to have?
Well, I mean, when you close a bridge, you close a bridge, and you close it, and then you basically notify them. I mean, if it needs to be closed, it needs to be closed. So we would close it. We would likely put up concrete barricades, and then we'd, you know, we'd probably do it simultaneously, to be honest with you. We'd probably send out the notice while our people were out there moving the barricades in place to do it. Well, and to make sure it was closed, we would probably go rip out a section of the roadway that leads up to the bridge,
Huh.
just to prevent people from bypassing or trying to move barricades. We'd probably take part of the road out.
But as far as timelines, it doesn't need a 30-day notice, a 10-day
No,
notice,
when you
it's
close
done.
it, when you close it, you close it.
And once the bridge is closed, there's no reopening until it's deemed safe
Right.
or replaced.
Right, and also, to refresh your memories, there are certain cases, like, right now, we've got it posted at 9-ton limit. If it gets down to like a 3-ton limit, then it is automatic closure. Then it's just on, until it's replaced or fixed, and there's no, you know, you get to that level, it's really just replacement. But if it gets down to where we feel it needs to be a 3-ton limit, then it's closure, automatic.
That's, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
that's where I remember us talking about inspection in June and July. I'm a little concerned if we wait till August. I'm just gonna express that.
Okay.
I think
I'll-
we need to do it as soon as
I'll,
possible.
Okay.
And Tom, again, having spoken with the individuals that live in the area, who have given me firsthand information that they have drove combines and heavy equipment, I mean, those are well above 9 tons. And I know that again, this is, farming is the business, farming is their livelihood, and there is no greater profession than that. But at the same time, we need to look at the safety of not just those individuals, but everybody else who might be the person that goes behind them, the next person over the bridge.
And that is, unfortunately, that is typically probably what happens. It's not the one who, you know, drove the overweight piece of equipment or vehicle over, it's the one that followed them, and that's, I mean, all of us would be horribly unfortunate in the tragedy, but yeah.
So, thank you, Tom. Any other administrative communications?
While I'm here, I do actually have one. This is regarding solid waste schedule for next week, for the 4th of July week. We do have a change in our schedule for some of our customers. I just want to point out, I'll try to bring this up again on Monday. Collection for our Mondays and Tuesday customers, there won't be any change. They'll be served on their regular day. Our Wednesday customers will be moved up to Tuesday, June 30th. Our Thursday customers will be moved up to Wednesday, July 1st. And our Friday customers will be moved up to Thursday, July 2nd. And since the 4th of July is on Saturday, we are celebrating the holiday on Friday, July 3rd. So, that's all I have.
Any other administrative communications this morning?
You need to correct
Sorry. Commissioner Bueller?
Well, we'll need to reconsider the vouchers.
Yes.
There's been some information given, so I'll make that motion.
There's been a motion made by Commissioner Bueller to reconsider the vouchers that we have one item that we had talked about delaying until Monday.
Yeah.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller, all second. All in favor say aye. All opposed?
That it is a special city county highway fund transfer to the city of Topeka. 501 was just an error, so it should fall under, I don't know what category, but it should go ahead and go through. So, and then I'll just make the motion to approve the vouchers at the original amount.
Okay. So, given that explanation, there's been a motion made by Commissioner Bueller to approve the vouchers as originally presented.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? That passes 3-0. Commissioner Bueller, any other administrative?
Last
Yes,
week.
we're going back to administrative
Sorry about-
communications.
Okay. Just congratulations to the United Way and Topeka Public Schools and the Topeka Housing Authority. They received a 2014 Pacesetter Community Award for their campaign for grade level reading. And so a lot of good work is being done over at the Topeka Housing Authority. And so congratulations to them. Had the opportunity to go to Parish Field. It was a very nice event. And then the Boys and Girls Club was really amazing. Lots of tears and joy over the reopening of the Abbott Community Center. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Archer, anything?
No, I'll defer to Jim. He's coming in.
All right.
And I didn't have anything additional.
Thank you,
anyway.
Commissioners. Very briefly, I just wanted to say the first step in the compensation study is for Shawnee County to provide a very large amount of data to CBiz. We're going to be able to send that to them 2 days ahead of schedule. And I'm not telling you that for that purpose, but for the why. And the why is because I sent out requests to all the county departments, and they responded so quickly, it overloaded my email system before I could get it off of there. And I just, for the people I haven't thanked yet for your information, thank you. I'll be sending that out. And I also wanted to recognize Janice Penry and Shane Plemons. Janice Penry's in the HR department, and Shane Plemons in IT. One of the pieces of information was a very detailed type of document in an Excel spreadsheet that had data on every single Shawnee County employee, elected official, with 10 different types of information. I asked them for that in addition to their important work on payroll that they do every week. Within 24 hours, I had a document that was very advanced, and I was amazed with how quickly they did it, and I thought I should recognize them for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mueller, thank you for attending those, especially in welcoming the Boys and Girls Club to the Abbott Community Center, their hard work. John shared a story with me yesterday, and I hope it's okay for me to share, that there was in the Abbott Community Center, there was a older arcade game that had outlived its useful life. The Boys and Girls Club placed the arcade game outside. A person came to it and realized that there was $30 in quarters inside the machine. Rather than take it home, they gave it back to the Boys and Girls Club. So those are, the investment of the community into the benefit of the youth speaks volumes. And so, thank you.
Well, and Commissioner Cook, I might
Yes.
just add, there were a number of businesses that stepped up, and even that day, Westar presented a check for $20,000 to invest in the building and technology for the kids. If you go in there, it's bright, it's welcoming. They've really done a great job. And Advisors Excel stepped up, Westar stepped up, helped me, John, who else?
I think Advisors Excel.
Yeah, mention them. But there were numerous partnerships that the Boys and Girls Club put together that it's everybody needs to go over there and take a look at it. It's dramatic change.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, John?
And just to see the kids' faces
Yeah,
of
it
being
was
in
awesome.
there. Not just that they had a place to go, but you can see that they really buying into the ownership of it, because I think Dawn McWilliams and her staff have put them to work over there. And the amount of sweat and time and everything else that they put into the facility was great as well, too.
I think she said she had 61 kids coming over in the next morning, so that's good.
Great.
On a smaller scale, Topeka and Shawnee County really is a great place to live. To see these groups step up, we had another. It's a smaller donation, but we worked with the Civitan Club on donation of some park equipment for the Civitan camp over there. The amount of philanthropy, the volunteerism is just enormous, and really makes you feel good that you live in Topeka and Shawnee
That's
County.
right. That's right.
So with that being said, I believe that we're ready for the next item.
Executive session?
There is not a need for an executive session today. We are adjourned.
This doesn't say anything about Shawnee County. They did give it to everybody that attended.